Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about spreadsheets to board confidence and how to build a scalable SaaS finance. And I'm Pasi Tasanen, founder and CEO of Valjas, and then we have Tuve from Fenerum and Hannu also from Valjas here, and we will have introductions a bit later on. Let's go to the actual slides and so on to get things started. So, can your SaaS growth get out of the bottle? What do you have, Hannu and Tuve, to add on this one?
This is an interesting question for many companies who are about to scale and have tried and done many kind of trying to find their product market fit and problem solution fit. So at this point, you may have many different ways of billing and your systems are not yet structured. So you quite often hit the glass roof. What do you think, Tuve?
Yeah, usually that's when things start to go south. That's what happened when our founder started to build Fenerum. He was a CEO in another SaaS company and they started scaling massively, and he realized that this is not gonna keep together. Like, he can't have background processes being like the break of the scaling. So he started to build something to help him in his daily work, and that ended up to be Fenerum.
Finance can become a bottleneck for the growth and so on. So let's talk also how to remove that bottleneck and how to build a finance engine that scales with your SaaS growth. Maybe we will talk about the hockey stick effect also, so board level confidence. Okay, let's get started on the matter. Then we have our guest speakers today. So Tuve, could you introduce yourself a bit more?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Tuve Siliakkus, and I'm the country manager of Fenerum here in Finland. My background is in sales, so I've been doing B2B sales for a very long time. I've studied in Hanken, so I have a master's in economics. I know very little about accounting. I did only one course in accounting that you had to do. So that's why I'm super glad to have this with Pasi and Hannu, who are the experts, subject expert matter, like of this thing. Fenerum, as I said, is founded in 2019. Christian, our founder, started building it before that, and then it was 2 years used within that other SaaS company called Plekta, and then it became its own company because there were so many other SaaS founders that said to Christian, okay, we also have this problem. That's where it started. And we're currently servicing about just under 200 SaaS companies, basically in Denmark and also in Norway and Finland. I'm actually on the mobile here because I couldn't get this thing to work, and I can't really see 4.7 billion euros processed through the Fenerum annual. It's so super small, the font there on my mobile, but I can see it. So 4.7 billion euros is processed through Fenerum. We've done this. We know how to do it. We help companies scale faster.
How did you end up to being employed by Fenerum? So is there a story behind of that one?
Yes. So Fenerum has a strategy of growing market to market because we are very localized. We do integrate with the local economic ERPs. So once having proven that this is a business case in Denmark, Fenerum went to Norway first. I guess the language is a bit closer, Norway to Denmark. So they went to Norway first, and then when they could scale there, they thought that what's the next market, and they actually chose to go to Finland. And that's why I'm sitting here today. So, yeah.
Okay, a couple of words from us also. So Hannu and Pasi from Valjas team. I'm an accountant by training, but let's say last 2 years and so on, getting quite heavily involved also in the, let's say, integrations and tech side and so on. Of course, I've been doing a lot of work also with that kind of work before and so on. But now we also started NetSuite partner and an ERP project. So that's also one of my interest points. And Hannu, what do you have to add on your side?
I've been working with SaaS companies since 2005 and have been in the IT or accounting in that industry based on these SaaS solutions since, well, back in those days. And supporting many growth companies, startups who have gone to market, and also been on the other side of the table with the startups. So it's interesting to be again supporting them with Valjas.
A couple more words about Fenerum.
So what does Fenerum actually do? For one quick picture, it's like we sit between your fantastic SaaS product and your economic ERP, because you use a lot of time and money and so on to develop your product. But then when the orders start coming in, you need somehow a system to be as automated as possible. And also you want to be able to service your customers as with as many options as possible. And that starts to become a bit of a problem. If you start looking for like, how do French people want to be invoiced? How do Americans want to be invoiced? How do Germans want to be invoiced? There are a myriad of different ways. And if you try to support them all yourself, you're going to end up spending a lot more time on those things instead of having a partner or a product that does it for you. So we sit basically in between your product and your economic system. We're that machine, that hardworking machine that just does it without having to go in and do stuff manually anymore. You set it up, you push the button, and then everything is basically automatic. That's how we fit into the system, and that's where it becomes a bit of a tricky. And that's what I said, that we come into the market like one market at a time, because we have to build integrations into the accounting ERPs. And in Finland, we have like two biggest ERPs that are used by companies such as yourselves are NetVisor and ProCounter. And we have built the integrations with these two, and they are both live. So we do that heavy lifting so that we build the road, and now we just want to put your invoices, aka the cars, on that road to start delivering the data directly into your own accounting on automation. That's basically on what we do. We put it on autopilot so that you have your figures, reliable figures, available to you in real time, basically.
Of course, there are also, let's say, other software vendors on the same machine and so on. And
absolutely,
those ones, if you, for example, look some of the US ones and so on, they don't have a local integrations to the Finnish software and so on. So that's also a point that, okay, you need to do a manual work there and so on. So there is also, this is actually quite one topic to check it out if you are comparing the software.
If you have one of these others, like competitor products, and you have to like use some Flash nodes or Zapier or something to connect them to, there's no end-to-end audit trail. And then there's this third tiny thing that we, in today's world, in today's geopolitical world, want to really emphasize. We are 100% a European company. So we are a Danish company with Danish investors and Danish owners, and our servers are based in France and Holland. So we are, the Netherlands. Did that again. So we are using 100% European to hold our platform up. So that's also something that we are very proud of.
Nowadays a point you need to take a look also. Let's go forward. There's a couple points from us. So Valjas is an accounting company, so accounting payroll services is the base, and then we also provide services to controller and CFO services and helping customers like reporting and board reporting and financing route and such. And then today serving around 400 customers, 24 people. We've been around 11 years now, growing organically and profitable growth. And we have also a couple software, as Tuve also mentioned, so NetVisor, ProCounter, Fenerum, and also we are a NetSuite partner. And also part of an excellency network, which is network for accounting companies and lawyers and member companies all over the world. And these are independent companies. Hannu, anything to add?
We have one team solely concentrating on startups, so we are heavily in that scene and supporting startup growth companies, and we only serve certain segments of customers. So we don't do construction or we don't do associations. We only do IT, tech, deep tech, gaming companies, and professional services companies, and then various services companies. So that's where we concentrate on.
Couple agenda points here, what we are going to talk today. We thought the structure that we will not have a text-heavy slide, so we're going to discuss on the matters, and we created images. And also, if you have any questions and so on, you can put them on the chat and so on. And even if you want, you can open the mic and so on if you want anything to add or anything to ask. So from manual chaos to audit-ready SaaS finance, what does it actually mean? What we should do about it to get that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how many startups are who have faced this issue, but this is a scene when you have been in the learning phase and tried various methods and your back end is still isolated and you try to invoice in certain various ways and the automation lacks. So I think that's the left-hand side, although now digital, but the paper pile kind of is raising the misery level.
Yes. Yeah, it's also, let's say, accrual accounting is a one term related to this one. So, and it's coming from the accounting law. Okay, there is also cash-based accounting, and just briefly on US point of view. So they actually have a, I don't know if there's some kind of limit and so, but actually, but I've learned that you can run actually quite a big company with cash-based accounting, but not in here. So it's a $500,000 revenue. Yes, you can run a cash-based accounting, but let's say if you are getting funding and so on, presenting cash-based numbers to somebody, that's something you shouldn't really do. So you need to use accrual accounting for the for your SaaS company and do the numbers based on the accrual accounting. So in practice meaning, for example, the revenue recognition. So if you sell a yearly license, you will get the money at once for 12 months. You need to accrue the revenue for the next 12 months, not show that one as a once. That is actually one typical mistake from early stage startup companies, that they will recognize the revenue at once, and they might also have an accountant who don't have a clue about how to work with the SaaS business, what you should do and so on. And sometimes we've seen an effect that, okay, the revenue goes nicely up, then there is a bump on the road, and they have corrected the revenue recognition on that point. We've seen it a couple of times when customers have came to us from another accounting company.
Yeah, and this was a bit new to me also coming into the SaaS world. I didn't actually see it, and then some smart people, I think it was Pasi maybe, that explained it to me, what is the whole thing, because I mean, what's in your cash bank account now is not yours to have yet. And this could be very, when you're looking at from a SaaS business perspective, you like those yearly upfront. You want that commitment from the customer. That's a very good thing to have, because then you're locked in. The problems begin when you don't realize that, hey, this is not my money yet, and it's so to be able to have a system that's does this automatically. And this is something that we always also emphasize to SaaS companies, is that this is not necessarily the law in the US, for example. That's why this is not a system built in our competitors that system that come from US. You can always buy them as a module, I think, but that costs money.
We're not going to demo anything today about the software and so on, but I will just a couple of questions regarding Fenerum we were having. And so how does Fenerum is taking off the weight from the accountant's shoulders doing the actual revenue recognition? So
it's actually a beauty. So basically what you do is when an invoice is created, first you build your products and plans in Fenerum, and you say okay, this is a yearly contract, and it has a revenue recognition algorithm of such and such. Some companies have more upfront, some have down the road, and so you can do different kinds of algorithms there. And then once the customer comes in and say, okay, a yearly invoice has been now created, the ERP lines are immediately created. So you get the invoices first sent over to the accounting system, and then you can see there in the logs in Fenerum that now we have created 12 ERP lines that will go to the economic ERP, and that's waiting for it to be realized in the revenue. So everything is automatic. You don't have to worry about it. And what's beautiful about this is that this one customer then has this 12 months contract, and then in the middle of the contract they go hey, we actually want some more. We don't want to upgrade or something. You just do the upgrade and everything is automatic. You don't have to worry about, what about the revenue recognition? How do you change this? How do I do that? It's all automatic. So you don't have to worry about it. You just focus on selling, and everything is done in automation from within Fenerum. So that's basically a huge weight off your shoulders and off your Excel sheets.
Yeah, that is very important. And also the selling to billing can be a nightmare, especially a startup who is about to scale and has many ways and many different types of contracts. Do you have any pointers to them, Tuve?
I mean, that's the thing, is that you can build the different type of plans and everything, and the whole, you can do basically whatever your imagination says, like, I want to have this type of plan, or I have that type of plan, and you just build it in upfront in Fenerum, and then everything, the product makes sure that everything gets booked the way it should be. So you want to have 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, 2 months in advance, even whatever you want to have. You can just put it there and then sell whatever contracts or whatever subscription plans you want. It's only basically your imagination. So this is like back to the product market fit discussion. It's like, so if you go like, oh, but these kind of customers, they want this kind of invoicing. This is the type of their business wants to have, like quarterly or whatever. It's like, fine, do it. That's not an issue anymore. So my question to you guys is like, this is a way, I think that if I understood this correctly, this is taking away from the accountants. Like, so we are taking away some of your work. Now, what do you guys think about this? Is this we're happily talking here and smiling, but are you like, damn, they're taking away our business? Or is this like, hate that Excel anyway?
I actually like engines that actually do their business, accelerate, and there is a systematic way forward. So without clarity, it isn't kind of possible.
Yeah.
So we like things that support the customers' processes and is enabling them to build their business, scale their business.
It becomes an expensive for the customers and so on. If you have tens of customers, for example, every month you are billing and sending a 12 months bill in advance, and then you have quite a big spreadsheet quite fast, and a kind of a waterfall going on, and how the revenue is recognized and so on, and also, as said, if somebody is ordering like a more during the period and so on, so you need to track those in spreadsheets and so on, so that's kind of a pain. And there's also the auditor's perspective of when you are getting a couple 100,000 revenue and a couple people and so on, then you need to have an external auditor for a Finnish company to audit your accounting and your books and financial statement and so on. An auditor also they need to have the so-called audit trail, and when you sell something and then you recognize the revenue and so on, the auditor needs to take a look. Of course, they don't look everything. They look samples of the accounting and so on. But if they don't get the audit trail right at the start from, for example, couple samples, then they will dig more. Then it's going to be pain if you don't have that one in order.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, same thing with the financing routes and so on. If you are getting bigger financing and so on, we will come to later on and so on. But the same thing also there, that you need to have the trail. I think we touched already the integrations a bit, but as said, you have the NetWiser and ProCounter currently up and running, which are the market leaders in Finland at the moment. But of course, you can also take manually the reports out, if I am correct. Also, if you are using some other software than these two, then you can also.
Sure, but basically, it's let's say like this: when you start using Fenerum, your sales accounting basically moves to Fenerum. So you basically you need the accounting system to have the sales figures in, but you will be following your sales through Fenerum. So account receivables you will be looking at that from in the Fenerum, but you need to have those in the accounting systems anyway. So if you have an accounting system which is not NetWiser or ProCounter in Finland, in Denmark we support Economic and Dinero, and in Norway we have TripleTex and Power Office Go. So we also have
24/7 is one of the Norwegian software also, but
So if you have another one, then and you want to have this fantastic automation machine, I suggest you talk to Pasi and Hannu, and maybe you move your accounting to NetWiser, maybe, or ProCounter.
That's yes, that's a good point. And those are the ones you can really scale up and so on. On ProCounter, I have to say one.
Business Central. That was that one. So Business Central also.
That's true. It was widely used in Denmark. We discussed with your colleague also back in the day. Let's go forward.
We already touched upon some of these things, but
Yes, common mistakes regarding the SaaS accounting and so on. So as said, mixing cash flow and revenue, it's not the same thing and so on. You're billing 12 months in advance. Hannu, could you discuss about the single source of truth for contracts?
Well, going back to those ones, just the pointer that towards the end of financial year, it's important that your own capital remains positive. And if you recognize the revenue and it's periodized, then it shows you the better picture of your financial position all the time. So that might be a requirement for, let's say, Business Finland financing and so on. So that's why the revenue recognition for startups is always very vital. So you remain financeable company.
Meaning also the contract and so on, as mentioned before, the so-called audit trail and so on, if you are having also the due diligence financing route in a bigger rounds and so on. So as said, they will also look the contract invoice revenue recognition path kind of and how things are aligned and so on. If you have that one, we will also touch this one a bit later regarding the setup with the CRM and so on.
About the contracts, it's as you come to the scaling phase, it's important to keep them intact, so you have the clear structure also in there. And when you are doing any price updates or even in the due diligence negotiations, it can become quite tough if they are all over the place.
Yeah, and have the luxury of preparing for an event in a few weeks' time. I'm going to mention it later on, where we had a discussion with a venture capitalist there, and I was asking about what is the importance of having real-time data, and he said real-time is nice, but reliability is even better. So the single point of truth when it comes to finance figures is like super important, because when you go into due diligence, when the venture capitalists start to looking at your company, and if they find 3 different types of figures that you're trying to display, that's going to be an issue. So you have like something in the CRM, like, yeah, we've closed these many deals. The accounting says something. This is what's been like booked. And then you have your Excels showing your MRR data that shows a third thing. So what are you supposed to be trusting here? And that you lose your foothold immediately with any sort of investors if you don't have one single point of truth. Fenerum is very big on, we haven't raised that much rounds. We are more sales funded. So, but when we did our funding, I think that the round, it took 2.5 weeks because we had all the numbers there. As soon as you sell something, as soon as a sales drop in, your MRR is updated, your committed MRR is updated, everything is there. So you don't have to go back and forth and wonder which is the correct number. There is just one number.
I like that you raised that question with the investors. We had our last webinar 2 weeks ago with the contract chains, Markus Mikola, and talked about how to keep your business always due diligence ready.
So if you're a CEO, you're woken up in the middle of the night and somebody says, what's your current committed MRR? You say, hold on, let me log into Fenerum.
Yep.
And you get the figure immediately.
Yeah, that's the point. And also your account, let's say the profit and loss statement needs to show the same revenue. Of course, you might have like some kind of consulting services or sign-up fees or whatever, or something you just bill and so on, but are not the true MRR and so on. So you need to take those out and show the same numbers and so on. And then you also, if you have like a Excel or whatever, showing the numbers for the board and so on, so they have to be the same. And
that's actually nice that you said that, because in the Fenerum you do have that option of we do take it into consideration that you do have onboarding fees, you do have consulting fees, and you have other one-offs. So you do that billing also via Fenerum, and then that's not accounted into the MRR. So it's also automatic. So, wow, this is a mess.
So we haven't talked about Stripe yet, but now we will dig also into Stripe. And we were yesterday at Maria 01, and we were service partners of Maria, and we had a discussion with one consulting company. They were just mentioning that Stripe is now everywhere, and Stripe API is wonderful, and it's well documented and so on. And we also have built some stuff for Stripe. And but yeah, many will choose Stripe because they have a good API and documentation.
Yes,
And
they do.
yeah, but it might be enough for some point of time. But there comes a time when it's not enough, and then you need that question mark there. What should happen, and also the where is the correct data, so-called master data, and so on. If you have the CRM system, for example, HubSpot or other options, and do you have the customer information correct there that you can use them for billing, or somebody signs a contract? Where do you get the information and such? Do you have to add a Hannu and Tuve for this one?
Oh,
Yeah, this is an important question. What is connected to which and how to automate it and keep it intact? So like Stripe, it shows payments and not the revenue logic. So that's one downfall. But what
there's quite a few things that, I mean, first, let me be clear, Stripe is a fantastic product, and they have like, as you said, the API documentation is great. It's super easy to hook it up and all that stuff. So and they have like the logics to support the VATs and all that stuff. That's like hats off. We are just a tiny player from Denmark, but what we've realized that as many SaaS companies is that you don't only use card payments, which is Stripe's really strong suit. You have several other ways of invoicing also, especially here in Europe. Now, there's a lot of things that I want to touch upon when it comes to Stripe. We also use Stripe. Let's flip it upside down like this. You need to get paid from the customer, but you don't want to restrict the way the customer pays. So some customers want to pay cards. Some customers need the invoices. And in Europe, there's something very common called SEPA direct debit. So in Finland, it's not very big because we have Verkkolasku here, Finvoice, which is like, it eliminates the need for direct debit, basically. So these are the different types of billing, or the ways customer want to pay. There are more, and a lot more, but these are like the main. So what usually happens in a Finnish SaaS companies, they start off by invoicing from their NetVisor or their ProCounter. Then customers come in and say, hey, we want to pay by card. Then they go like, okay, card billing, Stripe. They hook up Stripe, and suddenly now you've already made a problem for yourself, because now you have two different forms of income. You got some income coming directly into the NetVisor, then you have a stream coming from Stripe. Now, what happens with the Stripe stuff? It gets booked as cash, and that's problem number one. Stripe takes a fee also for this, and that you have to book as a cost. So that needs to be booked. Then all that cash that has come in from Stripe, you need to know, was it domestic sales, was it EU sales, or was it outside of EU sales, so that you get your VAT calculations correctly. This is all manually done. So somebody has to do it. And having talked to my dear brother, who is actually an accountant, and I asked him, is this something that you guys want to do? And he said, that's the most boring part of accounting ever, to sit there and flip Excel files like in the correct places. So not good. You have also the thing that you have like, where do you have your subscriptions? Where do you manage your subscriptions when you have some are in NetVisor or ProCounter and some are in Stripe? So you don't have a single point of managing all your subscriptions. Now, some might say, but there is a billing engine also in Stripe, or there are actually other companies there also, like there's ChargeBee, and there is Maxio, and there is Upoli and Unium. So yeah, they are fine and dandy, but again, they don't integrate directly with your Finnish ERP system, and they don't support Finvoice. So if you have Finnish customers, you're gonna be in a world of trouble, because you're gonna have to create that Finvoice anyway. So there's a lot of things there that before your CTO jumps and says, let's just hook up Stripe, you might want to go like, let's think about this for 1 second, because it might be easy now. But then when you want to scale and take into account all of these things, you have to do the work again. And yeah, we do also have direct API integration. So you can get your, if you have a HubSpot, for example, your HubSpot CRM, and you use it really well, and you mark the sale and you have the subscription there in HubSpot, you can integrate it directly with Fenerum. So it's done, and the accounting, the invoicing is started. But you can also hook up your product directly to Fenerum. So as you would hook up Stripe, you can do it to Fenerum also. We don't have those fancy videos, but if you have a good developer team, you will make it. And I mean, even me with my small vibe coding skills could do it. So then you can do it too. Yeah. That's so basic. That's the, like, people have asked me, so what if I'm fine with Stripe? It's like, yeah, you are. Then again, one source of truth. Back to that one.
Yeah, to sum up that one, so what do you just explain and so on. So you might have a situation, contracts are living in the CRM system, so you have them in there. Then you have the card billing in Stripe, then you have the invoicing done, for example, ProCounter or NetWiser. Then you have the revenue recognition is done in an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet. Then you have an accounting, which is NetWiser and ProCounter. And if you don't have any integrations between these, and you have multiple places, and as said, truth, what you have actually sold and the what are your numbers and so on, you might not know. Or you need to do a lot of manual work. Yeah.
There was this CFO I was talking to actually just 2 weeks ago, like last week, and he said, like, no, I can't talk about this now because we are closing the books.
Yeah.
So closing of the books will take you 4 times longer with this mess, and closing of the books with Fenerum is basically, it's automated. You just have to wait for the last bills to be paid to make sure that it's like, so you can do it. So that's, if you want to get that done faster, then you should have one system. Anybody have any questions about this? You guys said you're going to look at if there's anybody wants to ask something.
Not yet. Let's see if something comes up.
Somebody be brave.
Yeah, let's go forward. So we touch this one a bit also, so we don't have to dig maybe so deep and so on. But as said, there is a Stripe that you can start using, and then you have solutions, but you can also use, usually these are using Stripe also as one of the payment options. Anything to add to, or Hannu on this one?
Yeah, I mean, we have many customers with Stripe as well, very often in early phase, and it has its time and place, and it's something that we need to really figure out what kind of products are and how they are invoiced and so on. So there is more to it than it may seem at the first glance from the entrepreneur's point of view when it comes to accounting and understanding your figures. So what happens under the bonnet is not always automated. That somebody really needs to work there with their hands.
Yeah, you might need to push the CTO also that, okay, there are also other options available and so on, and this is a more manual work, and this is a bit controversy and the whole image and so on. But as said, the finance team might select the Fenerum some other option, and then CTO, okay, we need to go with the Stripe.
And if any of you are like thinking, how am I doing this, and or you need sparring about it, we are happy to have a chat and talk about the options.
I mean, actually, real live case, of course, not mentioning any names, but this SaaS company, I was having discussions last spring, and we were very long, like they were quick to jump on and see the benefits of Fenerum. And I was talking to the CSO and the CEO, and they were like, yeah, this is good. And then they took their CTO in the discussion, and he went like, yeah, no, we're going to go with Stripe. So like, okay. And then I said to the CEO, I was like, okay, I understand that. I really do. It's just that it's going to add to your workload. And he went like, yeah, whatever. And now 6 months later, they are actually talking with their accountant firm and going like, we're screwed. What do we do? As I said, Stripe is a good company for something, but maybe not when you want to, let's say it like this. If you don't want to limit yourself on how you invoice your customers, then go and look what's outside of Stripe, because within Stripe, you do limit yourself a bit, or at least you don't have a full automated system end to end. So that's all I'm going to say about this. We are very happy to work with Stripe also, and but you do want to look at it from a bigger picture.
Let's go forward. So running SaaS business at scale, and as a couple points first. So I think today we are mostly talking about B2B sales. B2C is actually something that Fenerum doesn't support, if I remember correctly. And
no, we do not support that. And that's basically what the reasoning why is the VAT. And because when a B2C, you have to take into account all the different VATs and all that stuff. So with B2B, we are in a bit of a better position because of the reverse.
Reverse. Yes.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's much more B2C is much more complex stuff. So there is a lot of countries where you need to register and so on. And just one thing to mention on that side, there is a tool called Paddle, PADDLA, which is one option. Okay, that's also a bit controversial on Stripe and so on, but let's not dig that one deeper. But just one name to mention on that one. And okay, when you go international, there is also the question: where do you invoice if you are setting up like subsidiaries to different countries and so on? Somebody might think that okay, we will need to invoice also locally, but that's not in all cases maybe not a good idea. Then you need to think about the transfer pricing stuff, and there's also the IP rights and so on. Who owns if the mother entity is owning that one, and there is only like a sales company, the daughter company, and so on. And that's a point where you also need a tax lawyer. So that's stuff you need to document and so on. Not in a small. Okay, let's say the official rules are for really, really big companies, but in what is coming from the kind of a law and so on. But in practice, you still need to do them, and you need to invest some money on those and so on. If you go abroad and set up daughter entities and so on, and to get it right.
And that doesn't matter that you. I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't have to that you can't set up entities there. You can have your entities in all the countries you want to, but keep your invoicing centralized as long as you can, because especially within Europe, it's super easy because we're all under the same tax laws and all that stuff. And even like invoicing to US is works as long as you don't start to sell the massive amounts within the US. Then it's a different story. So even though you have your offices in Paris and Amsterdam and Stockholm or wherever, just keep your invoicing from Finland. That's when we can help also. Because then you have to because if you take your invoicing to all of these countries, you have to have accountant firms in each and every country.
It's a massive headache. Cost also, so and consolidating and reporting and so on. So that costs money, and you can bill everything from the mother entity and so on. So that's doable and so on, and and if you are talking software sales,
but look at the big ones. I mean, Google and these guys, they invoice from 3 places, I think. So they have like one entity in Europe and one entity in the US and probably one entity in Asia or somewhere there. And that's where so they don't invoice from every single country.
Yeah, that is true. Yes. Yeah, the Ireland is an option for many of those and so on. And before that, I think it used to be Luxembourg and so on. Before the VAT stuff came in, the one-stop shop system for the B2C sales and so on. But as said, the B2B sales is quite simple. You need to just have the VAT number for an European company, and then you're good to go.
One thing I just wanted to here also take to discuss, just mention is that what I've been doing a lot is reading terms of service, so TOSs. So if you have received an email from me and where I said like, I looked at your TOSs and there might be some issues there, because that's fairly often we see billing hiccups or like blockers are coming through in the TOS. So, and that's because you don't have a billing system that allows you to bill the way that you might want to do. So you restrict yourself and then you put it in the terms of service. Like, you can only do upgrades at contract end, or you can only do downgrades at contract end. And we don't do this and we don't do that. That's why we wanted to build also Fenerum, is to give you, so you can do what you want to do and don't be hindered by a clunky invoicing system. That's also something to keep in mind. For example, you sell to the public sector in Europe, you're going to have PEPPOL support. So that's one thing, very important thing. Or if you want to at all sell to big companies in Europe, especially Germany and France, you're going to have SEPA direct debit. These are the things that you have to be taking into consideration. Okay, let's move on.
Just mentioning PEPPOL, that's an electronic invoicing format inside EU and so on. Not, let's say that's something EU is pushing and so on, and not really much happening there yet, but let's see in the future. So they are pushing it towards 2030 is that electronic invoicing should be in place widely in EU. Okay, metrics and fundraising and exit confidence, and And then, when you're getting funding, or of course, you should know your numbers also, how you're going at the monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue, and how many customers are churning. Of course, the deferred revenue is also an important theme too. But do you have in the balance sheet so that the auditors and accountants will know that it's correct and so on? The investor, what they're actually looking for in SaaS. Any comments, Hannu and Tuve, about that one?
Yeah, of course, you need to have the clarity, and even at the management boards, you don't want to work hard manually to get the figures on the board meetings. And investors, they look that they are reliable, consistent, even those DDs can take not always 2.5 weeks. It can be 6 months or even a year in the bigger cases. So this kind of consistency is always the key, that you see the key KPIs and can stand behind them.
And that's the thing, is also like as I said earlier, that you have to have numbers that you can trust, and that's what this investment from Vendep Capital said to me. Like, if your numbers are not adding up, if your numbers in one place is saying something and your numbers in somewhere else is saying something else, then you lose credibility immediately in the eyes of the potential investors. And that's why having this one single point of truth is so super important. And also, about when you talk about MRR, for example, what's even more important than your current MRR is your actually committed MRR. Because a lot of times in the SaaS business, you probably, like, especially if you're selling big ticket items, you probably want to maybe do some discounting or whatever in the beginning, like say for the first 3 months you get like 20% off or whatever. And then when you set it up in Fenerum, you put up the discount rules and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about it later. The system will correct the invoice when it's time, and you'll always see your committed MRR online. So you always know what your committed MRR is now. So for things that will happen in the future. So that's like super good tool, especially when you're preparing for you sit down in front of your board or sit down in front of investors, or sitting down to get this exit ready, because that's what we all want, right? Somebody to buy up my beautiful company.
Yeah, that's it. You cannot get this from the accounting software, so you don't have the information there. So you need to have the Excel or the software or whatever. So there you are, counting the numbers. So that's it. That's why we are here talking about these systems and so on.
We're coming up to the hour now, so we need to wrap up. I got also the chance to tell a bit about the SaaS community, SaaS scale-up community that we have here in Finland that we started last year. So basically, it's a community for SaaS founders to get together on a regular basis with like-minded peers to have discussions that might help you guys or exchange ideas, get support, and so forth. We are supported by 4 partners: KPMG, Nordea, DLA, Piper, and Translate. And so we basically have 4 meetings a year. And the format is always we start at 3 in the afternoon and we go on until 8. So we have we have like keynotes, we have panel discussions, and then we have small group discussions. And Pasi, you've been to a few or at least one. So you
I was in the last one. Yes.
Yeah. Then we have some food and drinks also there, so that you don't have to worry about going home hungry. And we do have the next one coming up on the 11th, and that's what I've been talking about, these investors, because we're going to have a panel discussion about where do you get your money from if you need sudden infuse of money and your sales product is not sales ready yet, or you're not out yet, or you need to do a massive surge in something. So we're going to have a panel discussion with Vendep Capital, with Nordea, and with Business Finland. So if you want to, just follow me on LinkedIn and you'll see very soon more instructions on how to join there. So that's what I wanted to say about the SaaS community.
I think there was quite a few people last time, maybe 50 persons or even more. Did you count?
No, we weren't 50. We were about 32, 3, something like that. Okay. But so this, so these are always live, by the way, hence the food and drinks. And we are going to be at Maria 01 on the 11th. So.
Okay. Thanks for participating, and if you're interested about Fenerum, so you can book a demo session with two. So as said, we didn't touch into actual demo today, and also if you want to discuss about your finances and so on, so we can run also a Valjas business planner session for you, and thank you.
Thank you, guys, and I wish you all a very good end of the day today.
Have a crispy weekend.
Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye.